All right. You guys can see that, yeah?
Yes.
We got you, brother.
Perfecto. All right. Well, hey, welcome everybody to our Friday Fire Up. It's been another phenomenal week. I know I say that just about every week, but it's true every single week. This week has been a lot of fun, and especially building groundwork on the new product that we're hearing about today. So before we get into that, I do want to share a few updates and announcements here. So for those of you in Oregon, or those of you that want to travel to Oregon, you're welcome as well. Our summers don't suck. But we will have an in-person MedSUP training coming soon. Those dates and location will be, as soon as we have it locked down, we'll get that out to everybody. But we're looking forward to seeing everyone in person. It's been a hot minute. Next week, mark your calendars for this one as well. Next week's guest on our Friday Fire Up is a connection of mine and Dave's, and now Jesse's, named Luke Kibler. So Luke is he's a financial advisor is the best way to explain it, but he leverages life insurance to drive financial planning. So he really does a lot of high level insurance plans, meaning his underwriting, the whole case build, everything takes him like 6 to 8 months because they're so big. He deals a lot with business owners. But why is that important for you? He's also going to be speaking about some basics, how to leverage it, how to talk to business owners to leverage it. And we're going to be talking about executive bonuses, how to leverage those, which our plans do qualify for those. So he's going to be teaching you how to leverage it so that you can drive, if you're an Aflacker, you can drive your Aflac business on the payroll side, but also if you come across people that need these large life cases that, maybe they're a little bit more complex than you're comfortable with, we can kick them to him. We do have a rev share agreement that he'll be able to kick a finder's feedback, and looking forward to that. So he's a great guy. We've been talking to him for several months, and looking forward to that one. Dave, anything I missed there that you wanted to add?
No, I mean, I would just add that, yeah, guys, this is not the $1 million, $2 million, or even $5 million term life product type of stuff. That's simple. He's talking like premium funding, buy sell, true buy sell agreements, very complex cases. Really, and the positive thing is the dollars are really big. I mean, we're talking some of the cases are $300,000 and $500,000 premiums. And there's a significant rev share agreement that we're going to be talking about that as well. So, guys, this is not the stuff that you guys can, pretty easily outside the box. You guys are all sharp, smart, well-spoken people, great salespeople. These are the things that when it gets into the deep water, and we're dealing with people's retirements and funding of multi-million-dollar businesses, that's what Luke really is. Him and his team are designed to do. So I think next week will be maybe a little bit eye-opening for some folks of how complex the life insurance can be. And there's revenue there because you guys will come across those folks that have a need for that. So, and Luke's a great guy. You'll like him.
Yeah, he's awesome. So I don't want you to feel overwhelmed by that, right? Because he's also going to teach you some basic stuff that you can be doing on an entry-level basis. So it will definitely be worth your while because, again, I know that you guys, this is echoing in your brains, at least I hope so. This is the second most sought-after product in the marketplace, right? Leverage that, leverage this milkshake and bring those boys to the yard. So on that note, Kaboom leads. Boski, I think I saw you on, brother. You want to give us an update on Kaboom?
Heck yeah. So we've got our partnership with Kaboom continues to grow. We went back to the table with them this week and said, hey, things are going great. We want to pursue this partnership further. What can you do for us? We just keep asking, what can you do for us? They love us too. So we got an additional $1 off per lead. It doesn't sound like a lot, but that's on top of the 3 we already had. So we're now $4 cheaper per lead at $19 per lead. Oh, but wait. We also have a bulk buy opportunity. So if and we're still working this out, but we might do like maybe a monthly, weekly thing. We'll figure it out. But we're going to have opportunities where you guys can buy in and get the leads for even less. They'll be $15 a lead. But we have to do a minimum of 500 total leads to get that bulk buy offer. Now, you might be asking, why would I be interested in doing this? You guys, we're not taking any split off these leads. In fact, that's how we were able to get a bigger discount because we said, hey, let's take the 10% cutback that usually an employer or whoever would get by selling these leads out. And we said we want an additional discount for our employees, our agents, our clients, whoever. And they were like, "That's a great idea." So that's what we've done. We've just passed that on to you guys, getting you a further discount. We're excited about this partnership. These leads are fantastic. I mean, they're calling you and knowing they know you before you know them, because they've seen your picture, they've seen your name, your number. These are people that aren't being tricked. They're actually clicking because they're interested. So we're getting quite a bit more participation from these leads than we ever expected from our previous vendors. So fantastic opportunity, guys.
Absolutely. So one of the reasons why we've aligned with them is, they get nationwide about a 10 to 12% sell rate, meaning 10 to 12% of all leads purchased turn into a close. And they also have a 10 to 20% inbound call rate, which is phenomenal. As Bo mentioned, they know who you are. And so what happens is 10 to 20% of leads purchased, they're calling the agent before the agent can even call out to them. So it's at that point, you're giving yourself an at-bat. It's all about closing that deal. So you certainly have that option. We also have our partners, Gen 1 on from the Midwest. Welcome, Jordan, AJ. And I know you had some props and kudos that you all wanted to share. Jordan, AJ, I'll kick it to you two.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Appreciate it. I do see some Gen 1ers here on the call this Friday, so that's very exciting. I know everybody's excited to hear about the Aflac MedSUP product and how they can leverage it, but want to give a shout out to one in particular, Carla Sharp, I believe is on a 4-week streak of policies written, and even written a couple MedSUP policies as she starts her career. So congratulations, Carla. And it's good to see more Gen 1ers continue to make this call, and I'm sure we'll see a lot more here very recently. So Tom, I see you on here, buddy. Welcome. Nicole, Trudy, welcome to the call, guys. Excited to learn some more.
Awesome. Love it. So Jordan, what you're saying is the apple doesn't fall far from the tree there with that sharp name, huh?
That is my mother. So very proud of her, excited for her to start her own business, but she's crushing it so far.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. Congratulations, Carla. That's awesome. On that note, let's get into what you're all here for. You don't want to hear my voice anymore. So I'm going to turn the time to Dave to welcome our guests. Dave, kick us off.
Absolutely. So, guys, I'm super excited to have Ward Garrett from Aflac join us today. Ward and I have known each other for a lot of years. And it's fun, right? I spent almost 23 years with Aflac. And I would go into these meetings, traveling across the country with this guy, and visiting lots of cities. And, usually I'd walk in with 22 years or so of experience and be like the wily veteran in the room. And then I roll with Ward. And Ward has been 35 years with Aflac. So not only does he know where the bodies are buried, I'm pretty sure he probably buried a few. He knew Dan when he was this tall. No, I'm joking. But dude, Ward is amazing. He has worked on some of the largest deals that you've ever seen in Aflac. That guy was the captain of that ship. I had the awesome opportunity to spend a lot of time with Ward doing this, launching the senior market across the country, and super blessed to have my good friend Ward Garrett on. So Ward, I'll throw it to you, buddy.
Thank you, Dave. I'm not sure I can live up to that, but I'll give it a shot. So let's see if I can find the right deck. That's always a challenge.
If you guys want to talk football, by the way, Ward is a slight fan of the Georgia Bulldogs. He owns every piece of Georgia Bulldog gear ever produced, I'm pretty sure.
All right. Yeah, definitely go Dogs. I was talking about that. And for me, Dogs is Georgia, not Washington, but you guys can use that too. So
you're saying Ducks wrong.
What's that?
You're saying Ducks wrong. Story. It's go Ducks.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you guys took off when you hired one of our dogs, so we still apply up there. So I want to talk to you about our MedSUP plan, but also some of the other plans that we have, and very informal about this. You guys feel free to jump in whenever you want with questions, and then we can also take them at the end as well. But so to begin with, MedSUP plans, as you guys know, the plans are dictated by the government. The plan is the plan is the plan. A plan G is a plan G is a plan G. So why would you guys want to consider MedSUP, or more importantly, why would your consumers, your customers, want to consider MedSUP? And really, for the customer, it really comes down to three things: the brand, the company behind the brand, who they are, can they trust them, the price, obviously, and then service. And so I want to hone in on those things. You guys, I know I'm talking to a lot of folks who've been with Aflac for a long time, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time telling you about Aflac and the brand, because I'm sure you know about it, but obviously the number one brand in the supplemental insurance space. But nationwide, across all consumers, our overall awareness is usually in the mid 80s. But the key for you guys is when you get up into the demographics above 45, that number jumps into the mid 90s. And that means 19 out of 20 people, when you walk in the door, they already know Aflac. But it's not just a well-known brand, it's also a well-respected brand, and it's a fun brand. And so, I tell people, insurance is kind of a serious thing, especially if you want to talk about final expense life insurance. It doesn't get any heavier than that. But when you can walk in and you don't have to explain who the carrier is, you can just say Aflac, and they're not going to say, well, who is that? They're not going to worry about, are we a big enough company to stand behind our brand and stand behind our promises? So that gives them a comfort level right off the bat. And because of our success in the payroll market over the last 60 years, there's a good chance they may have either had one of our supplemental plans at the work site, or they know somebody that did. And if whoever that was filed a claim, then it's almost certain they've got a really good impression of Aflac. So you're ahead of the game before you even get started, because they know who we are. They've probably got a really favorable impression. They might even quack at you. That's certainly possible, when you say Aflac. So right off the bat, if nothing else, they're probably going to smile. And so you set a great mood for having a great conversation with that person, and you don't have to spend time talking about who the carrier is. So, and that really translates across any of the products. It certainly applies for MedSUP, but also applies to final expense. In final expense, there are fewer big name brands in final expense than there are in MedSUP. And so final expense, the brand's even more important, because chances are they haven't heard a lot of the final expense companies. We're all in the industry. We know who Americo is, but chances are, I would bet 1 out of 50 consumers have heard of Americo, whereas 19 out of 20 have heard of Aflac. So anyway, don't underestimate the power of the brand and put it to work for you. I had a guy tell me one time, he walked in, he kind of laid out brochures, and the person was like, oh, Aflac, I want that one. And that was his sales presentation. He moved right into the application. So, and I had another guy say, I've got other people that sell other products, and they ask me why I sell Aflac, and I tell them it's because it sticks. And I went and looked the guy up, and sure enough, out of like 30 policies he had written that got to active premium paying status, only one had lapsed in like the last year and a half. So the brand is powerful, and it'll work for you if you put it to work for you. So for MedSUP, we talked about brand. It's also about price, especially with seniors who are large, a lot of time on fixed incomes. And so Aflac, over the years, our voluntary plans were always priced in the individual space. Our voluntary plans were always priced accurately, because we were always working with large numbers, and we're always working with finite events that could be predicted if you have the right data. And so our actuaries got really, really good at pricing voluntary plans. And so as a result, we never, ever have rate increases on our voluntary plans at the work site. Some products literally have never had a rate increase. Where we do, it's usually related to Department of Insurance coming in and saying we have to do something different or something like that, but it's very, very, very rare. So people associate Aflac with stable rates, and we wanted to carry over that mindset into MedSUP. We didn't want to come in with lowball rates and then have to shock everybody with big increases and things like that. So obviously we will have increases. It's almost impossible to have a MedSUP plan without increases, but we want to be competitive, and we want to be people to be able to comfortable about the premiums and where they're headed. And I'll give you some more information on that as we go forward. Also want it to be easy. So it's simplified issue, yes, no knockout questions like you're familiar with on the voluntary plans, no medical exams or fluids. There's a prescription drug check that takes place behind the scenes where they hit a database. And then we've got the e-app for MedSUP, and this applies to final expense as well. Enables what's called real-time decisions. So instead of getting yes, no, or maybe, I had a sales guy tell me one time, I'd rather have a no than a maybe. I don't know what to do with a maybe. With a no, I can pivot to another carrier, but I don't know what to do with a maybe. So last year we rolled out what's called real-time decision. So now you get yes, no, or you get we need more information. And so real-time decision, you click on a button, it prompts you for some, instead of questions on the app, it'll prompt you for some additional questions specific to that individual and the answers to their questions and what they hit on that drug check and medical check behind the scenes. And it'll prompt you for those. So what typically happens is somebody's using a drug and it's off label. So Ozempic's a great example. Okay, are you taking Ozempic because you have diabetes, or are you taking Ozempic because you want to lose weight? If you're taking it because you want to lose weight, that's not really an issue. If you're taking it because of diabetes, well then now, if you said you don't have diabetes, but you're taking Ozempic, we just need to clarify why you're taking it. So that's what that second round of questions is. It's usually only 2 or 3 questions just to clear up any ambiguities that came from the questions on the application. And then you'll get a decision. So about 98% of the time, you're going to get a point of sale decision, yes or no. And that carries over to FE as well. So coverage options, plan A, plan F, plan G, and plan N are the options that we offer under the MedSUP plan. I won't go through the details of those. You guys probably already know that, but those are the plans that we have. And then, as I mentioned, the plan is the plan, but there are certain things you can do to differentiate. And one of the things we do with the Aflac plan is we have the household discount. So 10% household discount if your client meets the following conditions. And the great part about this is some carriers have a household discount, but it only applies if both people in the house buy a plan. Ours is different. It's if you're just living with somebody who's a family member and you've been living with them, they're 50 years or older and you've been living with them for at least 12 months, then you qualify for the plan, whether or not that person buys or not. Now, I will tell you there are a couple of states that do make us require that second person to buy a plan, but that's the exception, not the rule. In the vast majority, 35 plus states, the rule is this: if they're living with somebody as a family member over 50 years old for at least 12 months, the last 12 months, then they'll qualify for the 10% household discount. And obviously, if both people buy a plan, they both get the 10% discount, but you don't have to both buy the plan. So that's a great differentiator for the person. If they're not single living at home by themselves, then you can always mention that household discount, and that's something that may spur them to go ahead and pull the trigger. As far as coverage, unfortunately, Washington, not a state that's friendly to MedSUP for us, but the rest of the country, pretty much. I don't know how much business y'all do in Alaska, being up in the Northwest, but other than that, we've got you covered pretty much in your area of the western part of the United States. Have a few challenging states up in the Northeast, but a lot of those are heavy Med Advantage states where there's not as much MedSUP sales anyway, but got you covered pretty much nationwide, 42 states available nationwide. So as you guys know, there's 3 different types of enrollment. Again, I won't get into, this is basic Medicare stuff, so I won't get into that, but you got open enrollment, guaranteed issue, underwritten applications. We do have the quote and enroll system. If you've written Aetna in the past or Ascendo in the past, then you'll be very familiar with the process here. We do partner with Aetna for the administration of MedSUP and final expense plans. And so if you've used their platforms in the past, you'll be very familiar with them. And just a side note there, our partnership with Aetna on MedSUP was really something they reached out to us about. And it's because they knew their Ascendo plan was getting long in the tooth. And sure enough, last year and earlier this year, they pulled Ascendo from the market. And so their plan all along was for Aflac to be the logical pivot from people who were selling Ascendo. So if you sold Aetna Ascendo in the past and now that plan has gone away for you and you don't have that option, Aetna's plan all along was for Aflac to be the pivot. We partner with them on the risk. They get a large chunk of the risk share. When you're selling an Aflac plan, you're not only helping us, you're also helping Aetna. So if you've been a loyal Aetna person, don't feel like you're betraying them if you're having to move on from an Ascendo plan to an Aflac plan. We talked about the underwriting. There's basically 11 questions on the application. They're knockout questions, yes or no, type questions. One key point I want to point out here is, as you're going through, if the person is scheduled for a routine testing or something that's planned or scheduled in the future, don't answer yes to the question. That's not the intent of the question. It's about what is currently going on now, what has gone on in the past. So you don't want to get knocked out for something that's not really considered part of the application. Here are the top decline reasons. I won't read over these to you. You can look at them. I'll leave the screen up for a minute, but these are, if you're wanting to know where are the places I should focus on or where the places I should maybe avoid, then this is a good little cheat sheet for you to have after you've gone through and talked to the person and learned a little bit about their background, or maybe you've already written them a life plan, and so you have a good idea about their medical background, their medical history. Then you can know if it's one of these areas. Maybe you start out with another carrier, but if it's not on this list, then maybe you had a good shot of qualifying. So in terms of price, our goal is to be in the top 3 in most states and most plans, in the top 3 carriers, be most competitive in the plans F and G and ages through age 75. And also competitive in Plan N as well for the younger underwritten. So I know it's hard to read those, so I'll go into some more details for you. So this is the same information kind of blown up where you can read it. So a lot of numbers here. Let me explain what this means to you. The key number here is number 1 state. So where you see 21, this means that for Plan F across the country, compared to these carriers, these are the other name brands: Allstate, AARP, Mutual of Omaha, CVS, Ascendo, Cigna, Humana. Of those other main brands in the MedSUP space, for people age 68, females age 68, we're the number 1 rate in 22 states. For people age 70, females age 70, number 1 rate in 20 states. Number 2 in 15 and 14. So as you can see, we're going to be right there in the top. That's without the discount. This is with the household discount. We're going to be right there in the top 1 or 2 in the majority of states. If you go down here and look at the difference between the open enrollment and the young underwritten and the old underwritten, and I'll dig into that a little bit more. Same kind of thing. In 13 of those states, we're number 1. And by the way, all this all these numbers are effective as of a couple of weeks ago. This report we updated every month, and this is as of end of May. So you can see we're in a good chunk of states. We're either number 1 or number 2. F. This is Plan G, same kind of thing. Like 28 states here, 29 states here, 35 states here, 36 states here. We're number 1 or number 2 with Plan G. And then Plan N, same kind of thing here. 28 states here, looks like 29 there. So again, our goal is to be in the top 3 among the big brands, and we're in a good chunk of states we're usually number 1, and in a broader chunk we're at least 1 or 2, and our goal is to be top 3 almost everywhere and everything, Brian.
Guys, I think that's important. I think that's important to note. Sorry, Ward, to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
More often than not, the fanciest brand, the brand with the most flash, is always the most expensive. Guys, this is super cool that we've got the best brand in the business that's number 1, 2, or 3 in about every single market in the country. That's a big deal. That doesn't happen very often, where we are not only the biggest brand in insurance with Aflac, but we're best in pricing. So that's super cool to note, especially as you're talking to, clients that you're getting through leads, or if you're talking to those people who are aging in 65 on worksite. So sorry, Ward, go ahead, bud.
No, good. So to give you an idea about how that breaks down by states, these are what we call sweet spots. So this is where, again, this particular cell is females, non-tobacco, age 65. So obviously we can't do every age and every demographic, or we'd fill up a library of different charts and stuff. But so for this particular cell demographic, these are the states where these 3 plans are in the top 3. So as you can tell, in Oregon, all 3 plans are in the top 3 for open enrollment. And you can, whatever plan you're in, you can see how those plans align. Where in most states we got top 3. So this is open enrollment for a female non-smoker age 65. This is what they call young underwritten. This is for a female non-tobacco ages 68 and 70. And you can see in most states, we've got at least one plan in the top 3. And in the majority of states, we got 3 plans in the top 3. There again, there's Oregon with all 3 plans in there. And then for what's called older underwritten, which is 75 and 80, same thing, female non-tobacco, same thing, Oregon with all states, and the majority of states with all 3 plans in that top 3. The colors just represent movement, positive or negative. A green represents from last month. That's a new state that's been added, and then a new plan in a new state. And if it's orange, that means we've lost a plan. So this changes month to month based on other carriers and what they're doing. And then across the board, this is the average of all the products and where we're top 3. And again, you can see in the majority of states here, we've got, in almost every state, we've got at least one plan that's top 3. And in the majority of states, we've got 2 or 3 that are in the top 3. So let's talk about increases, because you may say, well, that's great, but what about your increases? Well, here's the good news. First of all, a lot of carriers are struggling right now with the impact of COVID. COVID, as we know, caused people to stay home. They didn't go to the doctor. Now that they're coming out of COVID, they're catching up on stuff. They're finding stuff that wasn't diagnosed as quickly as it could have been. They're having to catch up on procedures and things that they put off. So there's a boomerang effect where during COVID, everything kind of shrunk. People weren't going to the doctor. Claims went down. People experienced, higher than usual profits because they had lower than expected claims. And now it's boomeranging the other way around. So a lot of carriers are having to factor that in and deal with that now, and having to factor that into their increases for this year. The good news is we launched Aflac's MedSUP plan in the middle of 2022. So we missed COVID completely. So we don't have that impact to our premiums. As a result, our increases this year are much lower than most other carriers. So here's some stats for you. First of all, the good news is 41 out of 42 states have already had their rate increase for this year. So the numbers I show you in terms of how we compare to other carriers are only going to get better as other carriers start dropping their rate increases in between now and the end of the year in open enrollment. We're only going to get more favorable. We're not going to get less favorable because we've already taken our increases for the year. Second of all, California is the only remaining one, and it goes into effect in 2 weeks. So after 7/1, all of the plans, Aflac plans nationwide for MedSUP, will have had their rate increases for this year. You can be confident those increases are locked in for as you go into open enrollment, and they're only going to get more competitive as other carriers take increases. And back to my point about us wanting to be not wanting to be competitive and not wanting to shock people increases, 90% of the plans across the nation in different states had single-digit increases, and the largest increase anywhere in the country was 11%. And I've seen a lot of carriers come in with 12, 13, 14% increases this year. So we were very fortunate in that how we originally structured and priced the plan, and the fact that we don't have to deal with those COVID impacts allowed us to take very reasonable rate increases this year. Like I say, 90% of the plans across the nation were single-digit increases. So California is the example. I think the increase for California effective in July 1 is 7%. So awesome. So that speaks to the fact that we're competitive and we intend to stay competitive. And that's something that'll help you not only hopefully close the sale, but also keep that business on the books with that customer.
Love it.
So to wrap up, obviously we got competitive commissions. We pay commissions on years 1, 2, 3. We also have production incentives. Here's the contest that we've been doing for a while. This is the one for wrapping up this quarter, but I think we're going to roll this one right into Q3. $150 for underwritten app, $25 for non-underwritten app. Monthly payouts on that bonus. Even though it runs for a quarter, we have monthly payouts. So in summary, you got the best brand in the business. We got all kinds of awards as a company, which you guys know about. We're in 42 states. We've got 4 plans. You get a real-time decision, so you get a decision at the point of sale great premiums compared to the other carriers out there. And it's a brand that your consumers and your customers are going to know the minute you walk in the door. So that's our MedSUP plan. Looks like we're running a little ahead of schedule. So I'll stop there and see what questions you guys have.
We got a bunch popping in, Ward.
All right.
I'm going to scroll into the chat here and grab them. We've got our friend Dixon. Dixon, I think, is in Texas. Correct me. Am I right, Paul?
Texas accent, living in Vegas.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Texas accent, but lives in Vegas. Because nobody's actually from Vegas. We know
that Southern Nevada drawl, that's what he's got.
Yeah, that's what it is. Really Eastern Nevada. Hey, Ward, can you address, why would somebody go with MedSUP instead of MedAdvantage?
Okay. So the big advantage of MedSUP is that they're not networks. So if you've got somebody that travels a lot, or maybe they're retiring now, but they know in 2 or 3 years they're going to be moving to Florida or to Texas or Arizona, or maybe they're going to move to be with the kids somewhere else, then they're going to want to have the flexibility to be able to work with the doctors wherever they're moving to. And the one thing about MedAdvantage is if you start out with MedAdvantage, now if you ever want to pivot back to MedSUP, you've got to go through underwriting. Whereas if you start with MedSUP, you're locked in, you're okay there regardless of, and then you have something bad happen next year, you still got that MedSUP plan. It can't be taken away from you once you get in and qualify for it. But if you decline MedSUP to begin with and you start out with MedAdvantage, if you decide now, wow, I was in California and I had the Kaiser network, and now I'm moving to Florida and I got to start over with brand new doctors and none of those doctors in my network, then that's that. Now you got to go through and hope you qualify for either a new MedAdvantage plan somewhere or a MedSUP plan. So that's the biggest thing there is it's more stable in terms of what it provides you and the coverage and the ability to see any doctors, any facilities, any treatments, hospitals that you want to go to, and specialists and things like that, and not be limited.
Yep, I think the description was given for me from our friend Steve at Aetna. MedSUP is for people who actually want insurance. No, and he kind of said it tongue in cheek, but the flexibility. Keep in mind, guys, when somebody's 65, unfortunately, their health doesn't tend to get better and better over the next following years. So towards point, when somebody's if they're having to face underwriting 1, 2, 3, or 5 or 10 years down the road, that gets very scary for most people as they age up. So I think that's a huge part. Ward, can somebody sell a MedSUP plan? We got a lot of Aflac people on the call who still work in the work site primarily. Can they sell MedSUP to somebody who's 65 or turning 65 on the work site?
Technically you could, but if they're covered by their employer's major medical plan, then they'll want to likely stay on that. Now, if the plan is garbage and they're not on it anyway, or they want to get off of it, they can. But you've got that qualification at age 65, and the one loophole there is if you're still working and you're past 65 and you're on the employer's health plan. Now, there's something I just learned last week following a Medicare specialist on Instagram. There is an employer size limit to that, and I can't remember if it's 20 or 50, but if you're at a large employer and you're on their major medical plan, then you typically are going to want to stay on that plan, but you don't have to, but typically most people do. If the premiums are being subsidized by the employer and that's the plan they've had for the last 5, 10, 15 years, they typically want to stay on that. And then once they retire and leave that employer, then they qualify for a special open enrollment period where they can get the MedSUP plan after that point.
Or can you talk again, just really quickly explain the difference between underwriting and those who have to go through underwriting and those who don't? Can you just hit that quickly? I know you kind of just mentioned it, but.
Sure. So when you first qualify for Medicare at age 65, there's like a 6-month window where you can take out a MedSUP plan, and that's guaranteed issue. Some states have rules where every year on your birthday, you get a guaranteed issue window where you can do things. And then, as I mentioned, the other typical scenario is I was working at age 65. I don't retire until age 67. Now that opens up a special open enrollment window where I can get the plan, no underwriting. Absent that, if you buy a plan and 2 years later you want to switch to another plan, or you buy a MedSUP, Med Advantage plan, and then you want to buy a MedSUP plan after that, now you have to go through underwriting and pass all the underwriting questions in order to be able to get that plan. So those are the main categories. I'm sure there's some nuances to that and some other specific things that are not quite as frequent, but for the bulk, that's the majority of the things that you'll run across.
Absolutely. More, any additional certifications that these folks are all contracted with tier 1 through us. Any other additional certifications that they need to have to sell the MedSUP product if they're selling FE for us already?
No.
Awesome.
No, you're good to go with the MedSUP. You're already all the FE, the MedSUP, and all of our ancillary plans are all underwritten by Tier 1, which is the company that Dave helped us stand up and handle all of our direct consumer plans. And so you're already a contractor appointed with us. You're ready to go. It's on the Aetna platform. If you're selling FE, you're already set up and ready to go, and you've already got the product right there on the platform. It's there with the FE plan. Both of those plans, senior plans, are right there together on the platform. So
awesome. Ward, can you talk about cross sell? What Aflac, why is Aflac in the MedSUP business? Can you talk about cross sell DBH a little bit?
Sure. So one of the things about MedSUP is it does not have dental benefits. There's some limited vision benefits, but it doesn't have dental. And so that's something that as you get older, you need a lot. Obviously, the older you are, the more likely you are to have situations where you need good dental coverage. And so everybody who gets a MedSUP is almost always going to want dental coverage. So that's almost a laydown. And if you just sold them an Aflac MedSUP, to partner that with an Aflac dental plan is kind of a no-brainer, because they already obviously like the company because they just bought the MedSUP plan and say, hey, guess what? Good news, I can put you into Aflac's dental plan as well. The dental plan is designed so that you can add vision and hearing if they want it. If they don't want it, you just leave that off and they get a lower premium. But it's designed where you can add that if you want to. And there's 3 levels of the plan. The mid and the high level can have that hearing and vision options added to it. The great news about the plan is it has a network, but it's only to get negotiated pricing for procedures. It is not a closed network where you have to go within the network. So again, if they like the flexibility of a MedSUP plan in terms of seeing doctors and hospitals and facilities, they're going to like our dental plan because it has no network either, where they can go to any dentist they want and get coverage under the plan.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ward.
With your Dave, you may want to explain again, just with their tier 1 contracts, what that means on the ancillary stuff. It's kind of lost sometimes.
Yeah. So guys, when you go into the Aetna portal, it says Aflac. I shouldn't call it Aetna, I guess. The tier 1 MedSUP and FE portal, there is an ancillary button right below in the quote section, and their ancillary are listed there. That will take you over to Aflac's portal to enroll on the tier 1 products. So the products that are included in there: accident, cancer, critical illness, dental, vision, hearing. Ward, we've got a lot of folks here who are selling worksite or have sold worksite. Can you talk about the difference between the tier 1 direct to consumer and individual or group?
Sure. So these plans are going to be very similar to the individual Aflac plans that you sell at the worksite. We don't have all the plans. We don't have the STD plan. It's accident, dental, critical illness, lump sum critical illness, and cancer. So they're similar to what you're familiar with on the work site for the individual. They're not similar to group. These are individual chassis plans, just like the individual plans that are on Everwell that you write at the work site. So a couple of things. The ages, the dental plan can be sold up to age 75. Dental can be sold up to like age 99.
I was going to say, did you change something? I leave
No.
and you change it?
I got ahead of myself. Accident can be sold to 75. Critical illness and cancer can be sold up to 69, but the premium is about cut in half over age 65. So that may or may not be a good fit for you. But where these plans come into play really nicely is, as you guys know, and it's similar to how the worksite plans work, we only underwrite for the health of the applicant, not for family history. So if you've just sold somebody a MedSUP plan and in your conversation you learn that they have a family history of cancer or stroke or heart disease, or if you just sold them a life plan, if you sold them a final expense plan, in that process you learned that they have a family history of stroke or heart attack or whatever, then that's got to be a wonderful opportunity for you to pivot and say, okay, for your life insurance, we just covered you for the worst case scenario. But let's talk about what happens if something happens, you have a heart attack and you don't die and you can't work for a month or whatever. Let's talk about putting you in an Aflac critical lump sum critical illness plan, depending on their age, and that our lump sum critical illness has $5, $10, $15, $25,000 face amounts, and it has age bands that are 5-year age bands. And as you guys know, just like the worksite, the age bands are at application only, not attained age. So if they buy it at age 49, they lock in that age 49 rate. So if you've got somebody with a family history of a disease, then that's awesome. By the same token, if you're underwriting them whatever plan and you find out they're very active, they ski or they're mountain biking, or they're in a hazardous job, maybe they're in construction or something like that, that accident plan is going to be a nice pivot there because it provides 24/7 coverage, owner off the job. There are no exclusions. The one great thing about the individual accident plan is there are no exclusions for industry or occupation. It doesn't matter where they work. There's also no exclusions for hobbies. So there's an AD&D rider that you can tack on to that does have a limitation on some hobbies, but the base plan itself does not have any limitations on occupation or on hobbies. So as you learn about them through your fact finding that you begin your process with for either MedSUP or FE or whatever you're selling them, if you run across some things that they're in a hazard, or their spouse, maybe you're writing a female who's 65 and you're writing her MedSUP, but her spouse is in his early 60s and he works in construction or something like that, or maybe he's a firefighter or a police officer or whatever, then that's an opportunity to say, you know what, why don't we get you a family accident plan that covers him, or let's write him an accident plan. So all kind of opportunities. It might be good to create a cheat sheet of what are the key things you want to ask, and then based on the answer to that question, how that pivots you and sets you up for an ancillary cross sell.
Awesome.
Hey, can I interrupt just real quick here? So a lot of you are worksite, meaning you're still selling a lot of Aflac traditional business. I had a great conversation with our good friend Marcy Otis. Marcy, I believe you're still on. I know you got disconnected for a second there. Can you shed some light on that employer size and really what opportunity people have in cases 20 and under?
Yep, I'm on. I don't know. We're getting ready to go to the beach.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I know. Can you hear me?
Yep,
so
I got you.
So if you have a group and it is under 20 and they're 65, Medicare is primary and their health insurance is secondary. So that gives you an opportunity to enroll those people. And oftentimes they don't know it. If you have a group and it's considered a large group, which is over 20, then the health insurance is primary and Medicare is secondary. So if you're working in a lot of small groups, you have a huge opportunity. And then I know we're going to do more trainings later, but even COBRA, a lot of HR people don't know that COBRA is not credible coverage. So I've met people, they're like, oh, it's okay, I'm on COBRA for the next 6 months. And they're paying for it. It's my same health insurance. Well, it doesn't count. Government says it's not credible. They could get a penalty for their Part B as in boy.
Awesome. Thanks, Marcy.
Lots of fun stuff, but
yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I wanted you to be able to share that because a lot of us, you got to take a look at the scope of Aflac's business, right? The average case for you Oregon folks, the average case size is between 13 and 17, right? And so most cases fall under that mix. And so anyone that's 65 up that's looking for that, you have that opportunity on your worksite enrollments to be able to capture that. So thanks, Marcy. Appreciate it. Enjoy the beach, by the way. It's already nice and sunny.
Bye.
Hey, Gordon, one other thing to keep in mind is, you guys, if you've worked in the work site, there's a minimum of 3 applications that you have to get. And sometimes that gets real squirrely if it's a 5-person employer and you meet with all 5 and you only sell 2, and then you can't get that third app. Now you got to go back to those people and say, sorry, so you got that weird thing. And so a lot of agents just avoid those micro small employers. But with the tier 1 products, there is no account. It's all direct pay basis. And so if you've got a small employer, 3 or 4 employees, where you may have just avoided that because you were afraid of whether you could really set them up for an Aflac payroll group, or the employer says, look, I'm not interested in payroll deduction, and I'm not interested in tracking invoices and payments and stuff like that. I'd love for my people to have Aflac, but I'm not interested. The tier 1 plans fit very nicely there. Of course, you can write those on a direct basis with the Aflac Everwell plans, but the tier 1 plans, if you get used to the platform and you like it better than that other platform, or you're already in there to sell MedSUP, as she just mentioned, to somebody, then you can pivot right away and sell the tier 1 plans as well. So.
Yeah, and guys, there was a question around commissions. We'll send out the commissions. We'll send out each of you your commissions on the MedSUP, because there is a difference between underwritten business and GI business. Ward, can you speak to about scope of appointment requirements on MedSUP?
Not sure I understand the question, but if you're appointed with tier 1 for FE, you're automatically appointed for MedSUP and the voluntary plans. There is no different appointment process. It's the same. When you get set up for one, you're automatically set up for the other one.
I love it. Actually, Diane, you're a rock star, by the way. Thank you for jumping in here. You're such a pro. And she answered the question as I scrolled down. I'm like, oh, Diane answered the question. Repeat, same as you. So MedSUP is different than Advantage in that route. So, hey guys, quick note. Ward mentioned kind of there's a lot of times there's alternative groups out there. Some of us live in states that like the devil's lettuce a little bit, and you may not be able to sell a traditional individual plan or group plan in a group that's related to the cannabis industry. There's a few states that's kosher. The tier 1 product, Ward, could somebody sell a tier 1 product in a cannabis related group?
Absolutely. No restrictions whatsoever. The one thing I want to make clear on, because if you're an Aflac traditional person, the stuff that you sell that's tier 1 does not go towards contest credit and convention credit and things like that. So that is a big difference. But if you need to sell them a product and you can't sell them the Aflac individual plan for whatever reason, then the tier 1 plan is an option for you and you get the commissions on that. It just doesn't count toward your convention and bonus credit. But as I mentioned earlier, again, no occupation restrictions, no industry restrictions. So yes, somebody who works in a cannabis farm or a cannabis store or whatever, perfectly fine to sell them any of those 4 tier 1 voluntary plans.
Fantastic. Any other questions that we want to address? That Paul, have you been monitoring the chat? Let me get back over there.
Yeah, there's a lot, but our peers have been doing an awesome job of responding to them. So
guys,
I'm trying to see if there's one that's not answered.
Quick note also on the tier 1. We've created self-enrollment links for a lot of you on the call. If you want to, raise your hand, hey, I want a self-enrollment link that you can actually push out to clients. You can put, hey Ward, if we give them a self-enrollment link, right, with a UTM tag, can they put that on their social media? And if somebody enrolls, absolutely. So it's
as
okay
long as
to
it's
put
got
on
the UTM tag assigned to them, it'll track to them, and they can put that out there. Yes.
Yep. Cool. So it's cool to put on their social media.
Yes, the link to their site. Sure. Yes.
Yeah. Perfect. And so they could do something feasibly like put a QR code on their business card that they leave behind, right? Because we've all run into groups where we can't get that third person, like you mentioned earlier. That's kosher too, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Guys, it's really cool to make money while you sleep. That's super fun. I really like that component of the business.
We've been getting some questions here on where the ancillary products are found. So when you're in the quote and enroll portal here, when you first hit update products, it's going to give you that list of what's available So it's just the Aflac ancillary down there. You can see what's available right there. And then you click here and it takes you into the portal. So for those of you questioning that, I did see a couple people with their hands raised. Gio, I think you were one of them. And Shemaine, I think I saw your hand. And Cody Cotter. Let's start with Gio.
Cody
and then
twice.
We'll go to,
Cody hit the hand raised twice. He's got double questions.
Oh, dang. He's sitting there like this. Gio, let's start with you, though. We'll see how strong Cody's arms are.
Yeah.
Thank you. The question I have is that a number of people that are aging in my existing book of business with Aflac, along with me over these 27 years, are in that category turning 65, and they're still in the workplace. A large number, I think it is the silver tsunami, and they're reaching out already for help. Now, they're also asking questions because of all the advertising about Medicare Advantage and what's the difference. So should we send them a scope of appointment just to be safe in terms of compliance if we're going to address that educational need when we offer the Aflac product supplement Medicare?
So if they're employed in an employer of 20 lives and over, they don't have to move to Medicare now until they leave. You just want to make sure they know, hey, when you get ready to leave, you need to reach back out so that I can take care of you.
There's some requirements though, if they're within that bubble that they're eligible already. Mm-hmm. And they're planning on retiring, let's say, in 3 months from their group plan, and they're already contacting me because I've been their agent for 26 years. Yes. So they're saying, okay, I'm going to retire. I want Aflac to maybe address this need, along with I'm already shopping around with my husband, blah, 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 blah. So I would think it would be wise, perhaps, to send out a scope of appointment so that we're in compliance if we're going to address the scope of what they're going to be looking at. It's not just going to be, just like we compare Aflac individual products when we're meeting with somebody, with some things that are out there in the marketplace, not putting down any competitors or anything like that, but actually being a pro, providing that information as an educator.
Yeah, if they're leaving that soon, when you said they're still employed and still in their plan and thinking about, I thought you meant 2 or 3 years down the road. If you mean 3 months, and definitely want to go ahead and start the normal process there with somebody who's going to be retiring within 3 months of turning 65. The open enrollment window is 6 months after they turn 65. You can start quoting them 3 months before and give them that 65 rate. So there's kind of like 9 months there that you can have those conversations and kind of start the process. So if they're retiring within 3 months of turning 65, you definitely want to go ahead and start the process. I would just treat that like they are 65 and just make the effective date pushed out after they terminate their employment.
And the other question related to that is that we're a big emphasis at Aflac with retention, and Aflac always gives us an opportunity that if somebody's kept their traditional products with them as they are retiring, that you track those people and stay in touch with them, ultimately that they also become your Aflac Medicare or final expense product. They're going to come back to those of us that have been loyal to them all these years.
Agreed.
Yeah,
yep,
absolutely. Totally. In fact, you can look in your Everwell. You can see who is about to turn 65 this year. It's a great free lead source for you right there. So that's a great comment.
Cody, you had questions.
Mine was more the fact of I want my enrollment link. That was me raising my hand that I want my enrollment link.
Yeah, I'll take the list. I'll take the list from this call. Bo will help me navigate who the list is, and I will create, if I haven't already, I've created a lot of links for folks. I will create a link for you, and it will be a personal link. It will be tied to your NPN. Just so you guys know, that's what we use to track. Because even when you move states or change names, your NPN stays with you, so it keeps it nice and clean as opposed to the Aflac writing number system. So we use we use your NPN. So I'll take everybody on this list, unless and shoot, I'll just create one for everybody who showed up today. And if you don't want to use a link, don't share it. But if you want to, it'll be there for you. Okay.
I believe Shemaine had a question there. Shemaine, if you're still on and still have a question.
I'm here. I was just raising my hand for that link too. I think the raising the hand was not supposed to be literal.
I thought you just want to give me a high
doing
five
this whole time.
No, I'm good. I know you guys will get the links. Thank you.
Yeah,
you
awesome.
bet. Well, Ward, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. We appreciate seeing your smiling face and plethora of information. Guys, we do have a couple of subject matter experts who are on our team who are going to help us in this MedSUP space. And we appreciate, we have Diane's a pro, Marciotis a total pro, and they've been fantastic at being able to help us as we go through the space, because we know it's new for a lot of us. So we're super excited.
Jennifer Wiley has sold quite a bit of Aflac.
Oh yeah, Jennifer, absolutely.
Yeah, we've got quite a few champs on here for sure. So
if you want additional resources, if you want some one-on-one time, reach out to us. We'll make sure that you guys get the information and the help that you need. That's our role over here. But guys, it's a huge opportunity. As we wrap up, I want to make one final comment here. So again, we've been getting on the soapbox, and by we, mostly Paul, but we've been getting on the soapbox about the opportunity you have in your worksite to sell FE. So we had somebody on this call a couple of weeks ago go in to see a 3-man group sell 2 FE plans, 2 life products in the group. Went in this week, sold 4. And the question I asked him, hey, how hard was it to sell life insurance in there? The answer was, I quoted him, hey, can I give you a quote? That's the magic. Ward laughs because we watched it on the tier 1 call center. What's the difference between the people who are selling it and who's not? Right, Ward? They asked. Yeah. That was it. It's like magic. If you ask, give them a quote. Guys, there's lots of opportunity and there's lots of revenue to be had, and to deepen your relationships with your clients. So I think it's super important. If those of you who don't work in that worksite world, there is a huge opportunity with Kaboom right now. And we know we're early in our relationship with Kaboom, but every result we've seen, it's been a very big difference compared to some of the other lead sources that we've used in the past. Tying that lead directly to you so that client knows what you look like, they know what your NPN is, and that lead is generated for you specifically, and they tell the lead, don't talk to any other agent but you. That's a big deal in this business. And it's yours. It's an exclusive lead. So guys, there's a great opportunity here. We're super excited that you guys jumped on. Thank you for being so active in the chat. If you have other questions, please feel free to send them our way. We will track down an answer if we don't have them, or we'll make something up that sounds really good. One of those 2 things will happen. I'm joking. Paul,
we're not good at that at all. All right, awesome. Hey, thank you, everyone. Ward, thanks so much. Awesome
thank you,
information. Guys. That was fantastic. Enjoy this sunshine. If you're in Oregon, I'm sure it's sunny everywhere now. It's summertime. But appreciate you all. Have an awesome weekend. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.